Hi, this is Angela McFarlane and you're stamping with AMAC. For today's Totally Technique blog hop, we're focusing on using gilded leafing. So this is the container that the Stampin' Up! Gold leaf comes in, and I'll show you a few different ways to use it. And you can see the beautiful sheen that the gold leafing has. So to get started, for this frame layer, I used a piece of basic white which was 13 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters wide, and then I applied double-sided tape around all of the edges, and then I'm going to use the second biggest frame from the stitched rectangle framelits to cut this out to create the border. Because we've got the double-sided tape here, I ran the die through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine a few times just to make sure that it did cut out properly because of that extra thickness of the tape. So we can pop this aside. And then the way I use my gold embossing flakes, I have a big tub, because this stuff can spread very easily. So I'll just sprinkle some into my tub, pop the lid back on, and I'll peel off the double-sided tape because I want to expose the sticky edges on all of these. There we go. And then you simply press it into the gold leaf, and you can see why I'm using such a big tub, because it is super light. So you work your hole all the way around all of the edges and remove all of the excess of the gold leafing. So you'll see this will create a lovely border for the base of our card. When we're finished, we'll just give it a light tap. Okay, I'll pop the lid back on and move that out of the road. Now for my second layer, I've used Pool Party cardstock, and this is 10 centimeters by 14.3, and I just go around and roughen up the edges a little bit just to give it that little bit of a shabby chic look, a bit of a vintage look. I'll roll the edges a little bit, and then I just use a bit of sponge and some soft suede ink to go around the edges. This will just give it a little bit more definition as well, which will be a nice contrast against the white. So that's going to be our second layer of the card. To save a bit of time, I've just popped some double-sided tape on the back of here already. I'll layer that up and position it on the front of my card, leaving an even border all the way around. Okay, we've got that in place. So for this layer now, I do want to add another piece over the top of it, which will make that frame look nice and even. And this piece was 11 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters. So this is the layer that I'm going to add the second bit of gold leafing to. So to save a little bit of time, I've pre-cut my little daisy here using the die from the Nature's Harvest set, because this is the stamp set and bundle that I'm using for this project. And I've cut it out of the Stampin' Up! Double-sided sticky paper that we've got. So this is our adhesive sheets. And what I'm going to do is very carefully peel this away from the layer. And just keep in mind when you cut this out and stick it down, it's going to be opposite of what it would normally be. So very gently, so I don't touch much of the sticky on here, and don't remove it with my fingers. I just position the daisy where I want it to go. I'll make sure I press that down really well, and then I'll peel this second adhesive layer off, and hopefully the remaining adhesive will stay in place where I want it to stay. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I do have the adhesive layer stuck onto here. So once again, I will get my gold or gilded leaf container, and I'll gently place this into the box. I don't want to press down too hard because I don't want to damage any of my sticky, and I don't want to attach it to the bottom of the box accidentally. So you can gently massage it with the sponge to remove it. So I find this the easiest way of applying it. Or you can get yourself a little brush, and you can also brush off the excess with a brush, but I actually find it easier with the sponge. It seems to do a cleaner job. So I just go around in circles, and that way we'll just remove the excess. It doesn't matter if there's a few little bits and pieces poking out, that'll just give it an extra little bit of texture. I'll give it a light tap to remove any excess, and then we will cover that once again. Okay, so now we have this beautiful gold leafing on our card base. Then to save a little bit of time, I've pre-stamped this gorgeous daisy on a piece of basic white, and I have pre-cut it with the embossing folder, which is also from the Nature's Harvest set. And then I will simply use some Stampin' Blends to add a little bit of color to this. So I'll just add a little bit of yellow to the centers just to brighten it up a little bit. And then because I was using Pool Party, I will also be controversial, and I can pretend these are pale cornflowers, but I will color these in with the Pool Party Stampin' Blends. So I just do a really rough color. You don't have to spend an awful lot of time coloring it in. It's just to add a splash of color. I'll take my dark, I'll just highlight a few little pieces. So I'm not a super fussy colorer. I just like to add a splash of color. I try to stay in the lines. I'm not really fussy, but I do try to stay within the lines. I'll just go over that again with the light to blend it in. And that's just highlighted everything a little bit more. Okay, so we have that ready to go. And another thing that I will do for the background of this layer was these little splatters. So I've just got a Stampin' Right marker, and this is just crumb cake. I'll take the big end and I'll move everything else out of the way, and I'll just gently flick the tip of the pen against the lid, and that will spread a little bit of a few spots around the place. I don't want to go overboard, so you can see they're really, really pale, but you can see them shining through. So then for this layer, we can attach this to our gilded frame. Oops. I've just used double-sided tape, and I'll center that nicely so we've got a nice even border all the way around, and then that is ready to go. Look at that gold shining through. So this can get added to the front of the card, and you can either center it or you can go a little bit off center. That's entirely up to you. So now I'll add some more double-sided tape. If you wanted to add more texture, you could even emboss this pool party layer as well. But I didn't want to take away from the gilding, so I tried to keep it fairly plain and simple. I'm just going to go off center. We've got that attached. Now for my other little daisies, I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back of those, just to give it a little bit of lift. So I'll use the big ones in the bigger areas, and then the smaller ones in the other places. There we go. I think that will do me. That will create enough support. Then I'll just pull all the backings off super quickly. Oops. And I hope this gives you a little bit more confidence to play with your gilded leafing, because it is really fun to use. Just remember to not sneeze or cough around it or use it near a fan. Okay, so I'll overlap my other piece just slightly. Now for the greeting, and just to save a little bit of time, I used the stamp out of the Something Fancy bundle, just the happy birthday, and I used this die out of the set because I wanted to keep it fairly plain and simple. And then because I've got double the dimensionals on the back of that, I'm only adding dimensionals to the 2/3 of this greeting, so it's not standing up too much. And then I add that, and I'll keep it parallel to this layer here, because if I went parallel to the base of the card, it might look a little bit odd. And also, just to finish it off, instead of adding bling, I'm just going to add a bit of ribbon. So I've pre-tied a little bow. I'm just adding a glue dot to the back of it. And oops, I've just ruined my ribbon by pulling that through accidentally. That's okay, we can fix it. We can add a little bit of ribbon. And there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've got a little bit more of an idea of how to use the lovely gilded leafing that we have. And make sure you go and visit all the other blogs. And this is my last blog. I've joined Totally Techniques for 12 months, and this is my 12 months is up this month. So make sure you visit all the other blogs that are available, because we have a lot of talented demonstrators who are going to show you a variety of ways of using this lovely product. Happy stamping, take care, best wishes, thanks for watching.